Bron Breakker has finally had enough. After months of watching the politics, the alliances, and the dominance of veterans who think they own WWE, he steps to the microphone and says something that nobody expected to hear. Not anger. Not desperation. But cold, calculated certainty. He's done waiting his turn. He's done respecting the hierarchy. Because when Roman Reigns puts CM Punk on the shelf, when one of the most dominant forces in professional wrestling sends a living legend to the hospital, it sends a message to everyone. And Bron Breakker is the one who finally has the guts to respond. This is the moment that changes everything. This is where Bron Breakker stops being just another rising star and becomes a legitimate threat to the entire power structure of WWE. Let me walk you through why this moment matters, what it means for Bron's career, and how this could reshape the entire landscape of professional wrestling. First, let's understand the psychology of what's happening here. Bron Breakker is a third-generation wrestler who carries the weight of his family legacy with every step he takes. He's got the physical tools. He's got the genetics. He's got everything you need to become a main event player. But what he hasn't had until now is the moment. The moment when he stops being the guy with potential and becomes the guy everyone has to watch. And that moment arrives when Roman Reigns hospitalizes CM Punk. Why does this matter to Bron? Because CM Punk represents something specific in the WWE narrative. Punk is a veteran who came back, who fought his way to relevance, who proved that the old guard could still perform at the highest level. When Roman puts Punk on the shelf, it's not just a victory. It's a statement that says nobody is safe. Nobody is untouchable. And if the tribal chief can neutralize CM Punk, what does that mean for everyone else on the roster? That's the fear that grips the locker room. And that's exactly the fuel Bron Breakker needs. Breaking silence is the most powerful thing Bron can do right now. Because silence means acceptance. Silence means he's okay with the status quo. Silence means he's willing to wait his turn and hope that opportunity comes. But Bron breaking silence means something entirely different. It means he's decided that waiting is over. It means he's decided that the only way to challenge the natural order is to step up and make himself impossible to ignore. And that's the badass that's been unleashed. What we're witnessing in Bron's response is character maturation. Before this moment, Bron Breakker was talented but deferential. He was the guy who understood his place on the card and was willing to climb the ladder the right way. But there's a difference between respect and acceptance. There's a difference between being a company man and being a warrior. Bron is transitioning from one to the other, and that transformation is what makes this narrative so compelling. Think about the strategic positioning here. Roman Reigns has established himself as untouchable by removing CM Punk from the equation. The message is clear. Challenge the tribal chief and you'll pay a price. Most wrestlers would internalize that fear. Most wrestlers would stay quiet and hope they're not next. But Bron doesn't respond with fear. He responds with conviction. He responds with the kind of confidence that says, I've been waiting for my moment, and if you're the one who's going to give it to me, then let's go. This is also brilliant from a character development standpoint because it allows Bron to separate himself from his predecessors. His father had a legendary career. His uncle was one of the greatest to ever step foot in a WWE ring. But Bron can't succeed by being a pale imitation of either of them. He has to forge his own path. He has to create his own legacy. And the way he does that is by making bold moves. By saying things nobody else will say. By positioning himself as the next generation that's not interested in the politics of the old guard. When Bron breaks silence after Roman hospitalizes CM Punk, he's not just talking about Punk. He's not even just talking about Roman. He's talking about the entire system. He's talking about how WWE operates, about hierarchy, about respect versus fear. And he's positioning himself as the person who's willing to challenge that system. That's incredibly powerful because it gives him an angle that every segment of the fanbase can get behind. The older fans respect the boldness. The newer fans respect the defiance. Everyone respects the authenticity. The badass that's unleashed is Bron Breakker finally operating without a filter. Because when you're climbing the ladder, you have to be careful. You have to play politics. You have to make sure management sees you as a team player. But once you decide that you're ready to be a main event player, all those restrictions fall away. Bron is making that decision right now. He's decided that the only way forward is forward. The only way to become undeniable is to be bold enough to deny that anyone else belongs above him. What makes this moment even more significant is the timing. CM Punk going to the hospital isn't just a random event. It's a changing of the guard narrative. It's WWE saying that even the veterans, even the legends, even the comeback stories can be neutralized by the current top guy. But Bron breaking silence is saying that the next guard is ready. The next generation isn't intimidated by the tribal chief. The next generation is ready to take what they believe they've earned. And let's talk about what this means for the actual wrestling going forward. If Bron is positioned as the challenger to Roman's dominance, you have the perfect narrative. You have experience versus hunger. You have the proven champion versus the rising star. You have psychology that works on every level. Because Roman has to prove that age and experience trump youth and aggression, and Braun has to prove that fearlessness can overcome dominance. That's a match that tells a story. That's a feud that means something. The ripple effects of Braun breaking silence extend far beyond just a singles program with Roman Reigns. This is a declaration that changes how the entire roster sees Braun Breaker. Guys who might have dismissed him as too young, too inexperienced, too green now have to recalibrate. Guys who were banking on Braun being too respectful to challenge them now understand that Braun is done being respectful. Braun is done being the guy waiting his turn. He's the guy taking his shot. And when someone makes that shift, when someone decides they're ready to be dangerous, the entire landscape shifts with them. This is storytelling at its finest because it works on multiple levels. On the surface level, you have a young wrestler challenging the status quo. But on a deeper level, you have a commentary on how WWE evolves. You have a narrative about generational change. You have a statement about how the company moves forward. When Braun breaks silence, he's not just inserting himself into the Roman Reigns conversation. He's inserting himself into the conversation about WWE's future. The silence itself is powerful symbolism, because before this moment, Braun has been quiet. He's been observant. He's been learning. He's been building his character in the background while the Roman Reigns and CM Punk main events have dominated the headlines. But silence has a shelf life. At some point, the observer has to become the participant. At some point, the student has to become the fighter. And this moment is that transformation. When Braun finally speaks, what he says matters less than the fact that he's saying it. He's putting a target on his back. He's making himself a threat. He's guaranteeing that Roman Reigns will have to acknowledge him. And in professional wrestling, being acknowledged by the biggest star on the show is the first step toward becoming the next biggest star on the show. That's what breaks silence. That's what unleashes the badass. This narrative also gives WWE the ability to do something incredibly important. It allows them to build a long-term story. Because Braun breaking silence isn't the climax of this story. It's the beginning. It's the start of a journey that could span months. It could involve multiple matches, multiple confrontations, multiple twists. It's the kind of story that builds anticipation because everyone knows that Braun Breaker has finally decided he deserves to be at the top of the card, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to get there. What makes all of this even more exciting is that Braun Breaker has the tools to pull it off. He's got the look. He's got the athleticism. He's got the lineage. What he's been missing is the narrative that justifies his elevation. Breaking silence after Roman hospitalizes CM Punk provides that narrative. It says that Braun isn't just another wrestler hoping to climb the ladder. He's the guy who recognized that the ladder has been broken down and is willing to build something new. This is the kind of moment that WWE Express lives for. This is the kind of storytelling that makes professional wrestling great, because it's not just about physical competition, it's about psychology, it's about character development, it's about understanding that the greatest matches in wrestling history are great because they tell a story that matters. And the story of Braun Breaker breaking silence after Roman Reigns hospitalizes CM Punk is a story that absolutely matters. If you're watching WWE and you're paying attention to the Braun Breaker situation, you're watching the birth of a main event storyline. You're watching a wrestler who has decided that his time is now. And that's the kind of content that WWE Express was created to analyze and celebrate. This is professional wrestling at its best. This is storytelling that respects both the performers and the audience. This is the moment that Braun Breaker becomes undeniable. Make sure you're subscribed to WWE Express because this is just the beginning of the Braun Breaker story. As this narrative unfolds, as the confrontations with Roman Reigns escalate, as the stakes get higher, we're going to be breaking down every single moment. We're going to be analyzing the psychology, discussing the implications, and celebrating the artistry of professional wrestling. That's what WWE Express does. That's what we're here for. Thank you for watching WWE Express, and we'll see you on the next one.